All right, are you ready?
I'm ready. Bring it.
Okay. Running into fires, people that run into fires and people that run out of fires. I'm going to relate fires as a competition that you, I never want to say that you don't think you're going to win, but the talent is so strong and so thick and so stacked. Every one of them is a world record holder multiple times. There's there's conversation. I read a while back some people talking about there's people that actually don't sign up for competitions when they don't even have a chance. And then I see people. Um, I'm going to bring up Ricky just in this example. Um, Ricky went into the Clash Waco 105. We had dinner, we had sushi the night before the event, and he was so candid. He said, "Don, I am going to get my ass beat. I'm going to get my ass handed to me. I I I would be impressed if I made last. There's no way but I would never give up this opportunity to be able to compete against people that are so much better than me, so much stronger than me, faster than me, more history than me. This is the only way I'm going to advance is if I put myself up against the best of who's in front of me. That's the only way I'm going to feel the real pressure of the contest is if I know that I have to battle. If you walk into an event and you know you're pretty much just going to dominate and win, that's a whole that. But Ricky didn't feel that way, and it always stuck with me that he was so willing to just go into somewhere into an event that there was not a chance he was going to win, and he knew it, and he was open about it. Um, how, in your experience, you obviously you have so many strongman friends and athletes you've competed against, and I'm sure you've seen people maybe not. I'm sure you've probably seen what I'm talking about. Maybe someone didn't sign up for something that they thought that, and then you see. I'm sure you've seen people that sign up for contests just because of the level of talent is so incredibly high, and then I see you out there also competing. Um, at such a with these high level athletes, and I now see you in that light with these high level athletes. What is that mindset? What is that? What separates the people, the athletes that will run into a fire, and the athletes that run away from fire, regarding high level contests?
Yeah, that's a great one, man. So, for our listeners who don't know, Don was talking about Ricky De Gracias, an ex-athlete of mine who was a good friend also, who tragically his life was cut short at the end of last year. But definitely a person larger than life in a lot of ways in this sport. But the characteristic of running towards that fire and having that fire burning within in the first place, that's something that's hard to come by. And you wind up seeing that reveal itself in individuals who have their eyes fixed on an ultimate goal that has yet to be achieved, that has yet to be made. They're still paving the way towards that. I think of myself in my early pre professional days in this sport. I think after my first Arnold Amateur World Championships, I had gotten so close to winning it, to winning the whole thing, that it really actualized a belief in myself that, hey, I do have what it takes. I may not be there yet, but I know I will be there someday. So the only way to achieve that is by accumulating all this experience to get from A to B. And so shortly after that first Arnold World Championships, I found a pro-am contest, a contest like Beerstone where you could get pros competing with amateurs. It was in Martinsville, Indiana, vying for a qualification spot to a Giants Live contest. And that was my first long road trip travel. I drove 26 hours across the country overnight for that contest just to have the chance to compete against pros like Rob Kearney, like Johnny Wazisko, like Marshall White, like Lucane Herrick. These were all guys at the top of their game when I was still up and coming. And I wound up getting, I think, like 14th out of 16 or something like that. Bottom end of the pack. But I got to experience these pro level weights. I got to see these guys in action. I got to prove to myself that I had some strengths that rivaled these guys in a lot of ways. And even though I finished towards the bottom of the pack on that pro-am contest, I came out of that so much more well equipped for knowing the reality of where my ambitions were aiming. I gained so much more from that one day of competing than I would have gotten in months, possibly even years of training, had I not taken that step and run towards that fire, even though I knew I was going to get my butt kicked. But that is because I was aiming for another goal, a goal that I knew I was capable of achieving. It was just a matter of getting that experience. And from that moment on, I had a belief that if I wanted to conquer a stage, the sooner I got to that stage and actually competed at it, the sooner it would happen. Regardless if it was that first time, a second time, or a third time, the sooner you get there and you understand your trials deeply and passionately, the sooner you can conquer them. And I carried that belief all the way through until I became pro, and I still carry that belief now. I feel that same way about every stage that I've stepped on since. And running towards the fire had a very different meaning as an amateur and even my early days as a pro versus what it does now. Because now I've gotten to a point where I have proven, to people, I've proven to people, yes, but more importantly, I've proven to myself that I do have the skill, the strength, the power that it takes to compete at this elite high level. And that's an important thing to have because there's so many moments of self-doubt, like, am I good enough? Am I going to be able to go head-to-head with the Hafthor Bjornsons or the Brian Shaws of this world? And you wind up proving it to yourself in these contests when you do achieve the things you set out for. So now the running to the fire thing is like, well, I'm no longer proving, well, I still am proving things to myself in a lot of ways, but there is that conviction in knowing I am where I belong. So now if I run towards a fire per se, it's going into a contest where I know I am full steam ahead, let's go, versus someone could say staying away from a contest might be running away from a fire. But the only reason I would run away from fires nowadays is the reality of injuries. I had to pull out of the World Deadlift Championships this year because I had popped a hip muscle just 2 weeks prior to it. Luckily, I had enough time to heal for the Shaw Classic the week later, but it still really hurt having to pull out of that contest. And that could be seen by some as running away from a fire. But for me, it was a necessary call. Like, if I do this contest, my body is giving me every sign that is going to come out of it hurt and is going to come out of it in a state where I will not be able to push it in the Shaw or any other contest soon to follow. So I think the ability to run towards those fires is something that's instilled deep in a person's core of aiming for something larger than themselves. In strongman, it could be aiming for the ambitions of becoming world's strongest man someday. In a very real life scenario, really literally running towards a fire to pull out anyone who's stuck inside, that comes from something of understanding the importance and value of life, something much bigger than oneself. So there is a lot of for someone who doesn't have that fire burning, I would encourage them to do some soul searching and try to think of the things that the big things that mean that carry a big weight to this individual. Search them out and hold them to be true, because if the motivation is high enough, if you think it should be higher than it is, recalibrate yourself, understand what these things are, and then when you have that understanding and you see that fire next time, you might be running towards it versus away.
I like that. I like that. So you would consider yourself, you still run to fires?
I still run to fires. The main difference now is I'm a lot more calculated. There's a lot more to lose in a lot of ways. And you think of it in terms of my career, my body is my work. If I break myself, I break my ability to work in a lot of ways. I still have my mind. I'm a coach. I can work without my body physically being able. But what drives me the most, my biggest goals in life outside of my family and my actual, personal life, are becoming the world's strongest man someday. And if I have a broken body, I cannot work towards those goals. So I weigh that a lot on the line. And then most importantly now, especially as a father, my ability to enjoy my life, to be there for all the precious memories of my daughter's development, That is at the top of my priorities. And if I make a careless call to jump into a contest that will certainly result in me getting hurt and losing quality of life, well, that's a call that is a fire I'm going to run away from, because that's not the big fire. That's not the fire that I want to be running towards.
I like it.
Next one for
You're
you,
up.
Don. At this point, you've live streamed several world records by various athletes in all shapes and sizes. Are there shared common characteristics or phenomena with how they operate in that world record breaking moment? And just, I know you're going to want to humble me and talk about my world record, but let's think of other athletes besides me.
Other
I mean, if you want to say anything about my world record, you're welcome to. But I want to
Well, I happen
know.
to have this picture right here.
I know where my mind is at for these world record breaking moments, but you've seen so many other athletes. I want to know, is there a shared common denominator with the experience of viewing these athletes, with how they go about, these ambitious attempts? What have you witnessed?
Okay. Okay, so first of all, I am going to start with yours because yours is the most unique. First of all, to give it context, what I don't think people really understand is you weren't in the back mentally preparing for this event. I mean, Gabe, you prepare beyond reason for every event you enter. But at that moment right there, you were actually our commentary. You were on the mic. Okay. So
It was my first
I
time
have
doing
to laugh.
commentary for ADL as well.
I have, it brings such joy to you were on the mic. Okay, and let's just add that into the mix that it was your first time doing commentary with us. So you're behind the mic, you're sitting down, you're calm, you're talking about other people, and then you this is my mic. You literally set the mic down. You said, "I'm going to be right back," and was it Spence?
Yeah,
Was
it
it
was
Spence? Was
suspense.
okay. So Spence was there, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and call the rest of this." You got out, got into the mic. So, in what you're saying, what I view, because I watched you with the camera and I watched you all the way through, all the way from when you were sitting next to me, 5 feet away from me. You got up calmly, you went over there, smooth operator, got yourself set, and then almost like a shark, like I saw your eyes roll back a little bit, and I was like, oh my god, look at he just flipped from the commentator that was right here to the guy that's about to lift this right now and attempt a world record. I didn't know you were going to nail it. I had all the confidence in the world, but I didn't know you were going to nail it. But I saw your eyes flip a little bit, and I was like, oh, wow. That was incredible. I wish I mean, I saw it personally because I was standing in the room. I wish I would have captured that on camera to play that back to just show what that looks like, that mind switch going on. Now to take that and move it towards all the other ones, which I'm getting ready to publish a list of because I'm trying to keep track of all the records that were broken on an ADL during an ADL live stream. Um, I do see that switch that I we're usually in the back, and the athletes usually we're usually put in a position where the athletes have to walk around us or near us, and I watch every one of them come up, and I hear the house MC saying, "Hey, they're going to go up for a record," and I look over and I say, "Yeah, they're." Pretty calm, I seem pretty collected, which I would expect. I don't expect anybody freaking out. And then and turn the corner and I see them go around, and then I see them about 20, 30 feet from the implement, and I can feel it. I can feel the change, and then I see the disposition change. I see the jawbones clenching a little bit more. I see this a little, and then you get a little 10, 15 feet close. You're about 5 feet away from the implement, and then by the time that you athletes get up to the implement, that's not the same person that was just walking behind me 5 minutes ago. That I, I can't speak from personal experience, but I see a switch. I see a change in just there was a movie. It was a baseball movie with Kevin Costner, and every single time he would go up to pitch, he would say, "Clear the mechanism." And what the the director or the producer of that movie, he did is he amped up the crowd noise, and he showed you really close of people going, "You're gonna lose. You're not. You're a lose. You know, you should have retired 10 years ago." And they're all talking to Kevin Costner, and he's on his way out of his career as a pitcher. And then he looks over and he says, "Clear the mechanism," and then the audio drops, and it's just Kevin Costner. I mean, it's just silence, and all you now hear is his inner narrative of what has to happen next. And he's looking down at who he's going to pitch to, and he starts talking to that person. He goes, "I remember the last time we faced each other. You know, I'm not going to let you get the best of me this time." But there's no audio, there's no crowd, there's nothing. It's just his narrative, and I think you would really enjoy this movie. I don't remember the name of the movie, but um, that's what I see. I believe that's what I'm witnessing.
That's exactly
Is
it. It's flipping that switch and tuning out all the other noise. And I
sort of
think
clear the mechanism.
I love it. I haven't seen that movie. It sounds familiar. Maybe I have seen it. I just forgot the phrase "clear the mechanism." But what a wonderful phrase, and it very eloquently surmises the experience of that moment. For all of us who chase those world records and eventually get to a point of contesting them, we have to get to a point where we are able to effectively turn on and off that switch. Because if not, and I see this all the time in the amateur sport, and the amateur part of the sport, and I even remember it for myself when I was an amateur competing at, let's say, Strongman Corp Nationals. Every interaction that the person has, if they are operating with that switch on, even if they're just talking about pastime stuff, it is draining their energy. So the athlete has to be able to flip that switch on and off, like keep it off so that your interactions don't take away from your performance. But then when it's time for that performance, you flip that switch on and you remove all the softness. You are just a finely tuned weapon ready to do its job and its task. And I think towards, the Harker Heights memory you have of me with my axle deadlift world record, I knew I was capable of pulling that world record before I even left my home in South Texas to travel up north. I also knew that I was taking part in that contest as a homage to the memory of my late friend and athlete Ricky. This was a contest that he was originally putting on himself, that John Lester took over when Ricky passed. And so it was kind of a way of me honoring Ricky too. And with both the conviction of knowing that I was capable of pulling the world record, and also knowing I wanted to honor my friend Ricky, who I had coached for him to pull a personal record on his own deadlifts in the past, at a contest. It gave me every tool I needed in my arsenal to get the job done. And I was also there, following a passion, commentating on the microphone, and I was having fun doing so. But whether it was the experiences at World's Strongest Man or anything that I've gained as a professional athlete in the 2 years that I've been a pro already, I've become very good and effective at turning that switch on and off, which I can go far enough to say that a lot of the other athletes who are in this circle of us who have broken world records on ADL live streams have done. But it's always an impressive thing when anyone aspires to do something that's never been done before. That level of going into uncharted territory, there has to be these things at play, these forces at play inside the mind, because all of us in this sport know that the body goes where the mind takes it. And if the mind is not there, or if it's not there enough, that's all it takes to not let the action happen. So that was my curiosity. I knew there had to be a shared common denominator, and I was suspecting it was the ability to toggle that switch on and off, but that's it. And it happens in the blink of an eye sometimes. But you know when it happens.
It's incredible because I can see it and I can feel it. And I say this because I have cameras on you guys, so I'm watching your every move. I'm watching you guys go up. I'm trying to make sure I bring to the viewer the experience of what's happening that I'm witnessing. So I try to, I have controllable camera, so I try to follow you up and give the viewer, oh wow, he's walking. And again, in that particular instance, you had to walk around the back, our banners, and you had to come through the middle and come towards the implement. And I saw you behind our banners, and you were approaching, and you were shaking up that. I just laughed. The smelling salts.
You're thinking of Yanni, huh? Shout out to Yanni. Hopefully he's listening.
Oh, yeah, this one's for you. So, but I saw you in the back shaking it up, and I just saw you you just tuned everything out. You were as you were walking up, you're looking at the floor in front of you, make sure you don't hit the banner, make sure you don't hit the wall. But then, as soon as you turned that corner, all I saw was a lock on that bar. Your eyes were so everything about not just your eyes, everything about you was so laser focused on that one. There was no, that room could have been empty. For all I know, that room was empty. The only two things that were in that room was you and that bar. That was it. That's what it felt like. That's what it looked like. You I noticed you walked up and hey, I need that moved over a little bit. It was the smallest of things, but that had to be perfect for you. And then, soon as it was dialed perfect, as any strongman implement can be to perfection, as soon as it got to right where it I just felt like there was nothing else in the room but you and that bar.
That's exactly how it is in the
You
mind. It's exactly, and you brought up that the Kevin Costner film where everything else disappears and it's just him and the batter. It's that same experience. You kind of everything else gets dampened. It's like you turn on the filter to kind of blur it all out, and it's just you and that object. It's tunnel vision in a way, but I like to think of it as clarity. You know,
it's awesome to witness, and we've been blessed with quite the list. Again, I'll be putting that list out because I'm just very proud of it, and I'm proud of our little company, and so many people have set records on our live stream. But that's to answer your question. That's what I see common with everybody is that it's just that clear the mechanism. I'm just going to use that phrase. They just clear it, and there's nothing else but them and that implement that next thing event next. That's it. There's nobody else in the room. And when I say that, it sounds. I mean, if you were in the room that day, it was quite a lot of people.
let's see, Don, you went out for a second right there.
I don't know. I didn't count, but 50, 60 people in the room. Uh, when I witnessed it there, and then again, I'm filming you at the Shaw, and the room. You could hear the Budweiser Event Center, I'm sure, at Denver International Airport. I mean, that room was loud. I had my guy, my switcher, right next to our operator, right next to me. I mean, literally a foot from me, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs, "Hey, camera two, camera one!" He couldn't hear me. It was so it was just so electric, so loud. So when I say that you're able to clear the mechanism, and I watch you do it with 50 or 60 people, I can kind of get it. When I see you do it in front of that crowd, that electricity, the screaming, the house audio, that must be an incredible. It's just next level for you to be able to shut that out. I don't know how. I don't know how you shut that. I can see you shutting 50, 60 people out. I don't know how you shut out a couple thousand people at the highest octaves possible.
It's a mental strength that is, you have to train for it like any other type of strength. But the only way to train for that type of thing is immersing yourself in similar experiences that build up to it. But I will say that crowd at the Shaw was unlike any other crowd I've been in front of before. But I am still very happy with how effectively I was able to get myself in the zone that I needed to be in. And I did it very well.